Hey, Magnus here, and today's kind of a love letter to the Samsung NX1 and why I tend to treat this camera with respect even when compared to modern day cameras. Check it out. Testing one. Behind you with like the clouds, the sky and everything, and still be able to see. We've got the Rode video mic. Here we go. M50. What do you guys think? Alright, if you're new here, please consider subscribing because I talk about cameras and purposes for video and the like. So please hit that like button if you enjoy this. But right now we're going to get into the nitty gritty and my basic love letter to the Samsung NX1. Now this camera has been around for years. It was compared to the GH4 when it came out, and we've already got the GH5 and the GH5S. And I use the GH5 and the 5D Mark IV in situations that I'm recording events, but I'll also use the Samsung NX1 to this day. Now I'm going to tell you why, and basically it has to do with the features and the video quality that you get out of it. Now let's go down to the nitty gritty and some of the features that can compare to today's cameras. Now, I'm into video mostly, but even for pictures, it has amazing 28 megapixel backside illuminated sensor, and it just does a phenomenal job of capturing a lot of that quality. And that quality and detail that you can capture, the 5D Mark IV with its over 30 megapixel sensor does not capture that amount of detail thanks to the anti-aliasing filter that the 5D Mark IV has. So when it comes to sharpness, this reigns. Now when it comes to sharpness when compared to the GH5 in 4K, they're pretty comparable. Let's go down the features of what this has from a 4K perspective. First of all, this sensor is bigger than the GH5 sensor. The GH5 uses a micro four thirds sensor, which is a 2x crop, while this has a 1.5x crop when compared to full frame. Now, okay, so then the Canon 5D Mark IV could possibly compete with this when it comes to sensor size. Well, unfortunately not for 4K video. For 4K video, the 5D Mark IV has a 1.74 times crop that you have to add, while this has 1.5 times crop. So less of a crop, more light captured when compared to the 5D Mark IV. So that's where it wins. Then when you come to the GH5, well, GH5, although it's got a 2x crop, it could record 4K at 60 frames per second. You've got 30 frames per second 4K at 10-bit 422. Well, you only got 420 on the NX1, but the quality of the picture and the way it looks and the amount of detail that you get, you can hardly notice, to be quite honest, except when it comes to extreme dynamic range scenario. You'll see some imperfections in the footage when it comes to that, but when you got a good scenario with a pretty decent dynamic range, then you're going to see some impressive stuff off of this thing. Alright, so what type of video does it do? It does 4K at 30 frames per second. Then you've got true cinema 4K at 24 frames per second. You've got 1080p at 120 frames per second. I mean, this thing really does it all. So now I'm going to put it on cinema 4K at 24 frames per second. I'm just going to record, first of all, the camera recording me, putting it on autofocus right there. I'm recording myself on the camera. Now I'm going to turn it on me. Whoa, zoom out. There you go. There's me off of the NX1. Now this camera is already over 3 years old, and look at the quality that you get at Cinema 4K. Let's switch it up a bit and actually look at this footage, 120 frames per second. So basically, I put the frames per second at 120 frames per second. However, it's still got autofocus completely activated, and sound recording still works in recording at that higher frame rate. I don't know any other camera on the market or DSLR or mirrorless camera that actually records sound and still has functioning autofocus while using the full sensor recording at 120 frames per second. Alright, so I'm going to hit the record button on me and record me. Did I hit the record button? Yeah, I did. So there you go. I've got it pointed at me. And while you see me here, you're also going to see me here basically 120 frames per second, recording me 1080p and full sound. We got full sound. I'm going to switch the audio right now to hear me using the NX1's microphone while recording at 120 frames per second, and the autofocus is still on. I'm going to move the camera closer and farther away from me, and I still got functioning autofocus at such a high frame rate. And that's what you got. Amazing, right? Well, I'm also going to take a picture of myself at this point right here. So part of my thumbnail is going to be, hopefully, a picture of the NX1 if it comes out good. If not, I might not do that. But yeah, that's the features that you have off of the NX1. That's what I think. That's why I like the camera. It really can compete with modern cameras when it comes to simple functionality and 4K footage, which a lot of competition took a while to catch up to. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And a question for you. What are the most important next generation camera features that you guys are looking for in order for you to upgrade what you currently have or actually jump into a more high-end professional camera? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, like, share, and you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys later.